Dr. Christopher Wickham is Professor of German Emeritus. I think that's the best title in academia, right? Emeritus? Emeritus at University of Texas at San Antonio. From 2004 to 2013, he served as Associate Dean in the College of Liberal Arts and Fine Arts at UTSA. His publications include Comanches and Germans on the Texas Frontier, The Ethnology of Heinrich Berghaus. I'll use my 2 years of German. Comanches, Captives, and Germans, Wilhelm Friedrich's Drawings from the Texas Frontier, and the German Texas Frontier in 1853, Ferdinand Lindheimer's newspaper accounts of the environment, gold, and Indians. These were all done with Dr. Daniel Jello, who was Dean and Professor of Anthropology at UTA and is one of our advisors at the Alamo these days on Comanches in Texas. Dr. Wickham will talk about Texas Binocular, complementary mappings from opposite sides of the Comanche-German frontier. Please welcome Dr. Wickham.
Dan Jello sends his apologies. He was not able to attend this weekend. I will represent our work to you. Dan and I would like to thank the Texas General Land Office and the symposium staff for the opportunity to present our work to this particular audience, and we express our gratitude to the Texas Map Society for sponsoring this talk. In recent books on German immigration to Texas, Daniel Jello and I have discussed two informal maps as part of our analysis of Comanche-German relations and natural resources. In our book, Comanches and Germans on the Texas Frontier, published in 2018, we reprinted a map from an article in German, published in 1851, that indicates Comanche grazing and hunting grounds, identifying them by name of the native bands, their leaders, and significant location identifiers, most importantly, hydronyms. Then, in the German Texas Frontier in 1853, published in 2024, we used a sketched map from the archived papers of botanist Ferdinand J. Lindheimer to illustrate German awareness of the geology and topography of the same area as the first map. In this presentation, we will bring the two mappings together for the first time and explore what they contribute to our understanding of human activity in the Llano Uplift region of central Texas in the 1840s. As two windows on the same space, they allow a binocular appreciation of the Comanche-German frontier, and just as binocular field glasses permit a formation of a magnified three-dimensional image, so these maps, taken together, give us an enhanced multidimensional view of a contested space. The space in question is part of the region known as the Fisher-Miller Land Grant, a 3.8 million acre area contracted for settlement by the German Immigration Company, known variously as the Adelsverein, the Mainz Society, and the Society for the Protection of German Immigrants in Texas. It lies to the west of the center of the Llano Uplift and is bordered on the south by the Llano River and to the north by the Colorado River. The San Saba River flows west to east through the middle of it. The Llano Uplift itself shows up strikingly on the geological map of Texas as the southern half of a more or less circular formation northwest of Austin. We will not be concerned with the geological processes that form the Llano Uplift in this presentation, fascinating though they are. Our focus is on the native populations, particularly the Comanches, and the German immigrants who made claims on this space. What do our two mappings tell us about this largely peaceful but high-tension frontier? The first map presents a Comanche point of view. It is based on information provided by natives, almost certainly including Penataca Comanche headman Santa Anna, to the German intermediary who was resident in Santa Anna's camp, Emil Kriwitz. Kriwitz's 4-month presence in Santa Anna's village was a condition of the 1847 non-aggression agreement between the Comanches and the German settlers who were poised to move into the Fisher-Miller Grant. This pact is known as the Moisebach-Comanche Treaty, after the Commissioner General of the German Immigration Company, John O. Moisebach, who led the initiative to establish the treaty. The map appeared in 1851 in the Geographisches Jahrbuch, a yearbook publication designed to augment information already published in geographer Heinrich Berghaus's monumental 2-volume Physikalischer Atlas, Physical Atlas. The map was an appendix to an article authored by Berghaus on the relationship between the Shoshones, Comanches, and Apaches, and based on linguistic evidence. Faulty linguistic evidence, as it turns out. Our 2018 book translates Berghaus's article in full and provides extensive commentary on its significance. The map bears the title Karte vom Jagdgebiet der Comanchen in Texas, map of the hunting grounds of the Comanches in Texas. But in fact, as the text of Berghaus's article indicates, it actually shows the location of grazing grounds traditionally occupied by different Comanche bands for their livestock, principally horses. It is the upper left, that is the northwest quarter of this map, that holds primary interest for us in this discussion. But first, a brief overview of what the map as a whole contains. Rivers and names of towns and settlements indicate that the area is south-central Texas, with the Colorado River, the Guadalupe, Frio, San Marcos, Nueces, Pedernales, Brazos, and San Saba rivers clearly named. The cities of San Antonio de Bejar, Castroville, Austin, Bastrop, LaGrange, printed as La Grande, New Braunfels, Seguin, Gonzales, Fredericksburg, and Nashville on the Brazos are marked, as are almost in the center of the map, and most importantly for our purposes, the first German settlements in the Fisher-Miller Grant, strung along the Llano River, Bettina, Castell, and Leiningen. I don't know if we can see those. They are right here. The relative position of these 3 settlements is actually inaccurate. Bettina was in fact located east of Castell. The physical features, House Mountain and Enchanted Rock, are also entered as House Mount and Bezauberter Felsen. The map shows the general location of some native peoples, Delawares and Shawnees, characterized as halb-zivilierter Indianer, half-civilized Indians, Pawnee Picts, now known as Wichitas, Caddos, Tonkawas, Kickapoos, Choctaws, Chickasaws, Wacos, and the precise location of a number of smaller Comanche bands. And in a broad arc, the northwestern segment of the map is inscribed Jagdgebiet der Comanchen, as you see in this arc right here. Hunting ground of the Comanches, while an opposite arc formed by an unlabeled dotted line running from northeast toward the southwest, north of the German settlements on the Llano River, seems to mark the putative German Comanche frontier. The frame of the map indicates coordinates based on the Paris meridian. Below the frame of the map are the names of the publisher, Justus Perthes, the cartographer, Theodor Schilling, and the lithographic institute responsible for the printing. See Hellfahrt in the German town of Gotha. It is here we find the words nach handschriftlichen Mitteilungen eines Auswanderers gezeichnet, drawn from the handwritten communications of an emigrant. As detailed in our book, we know this emigrant to be Emil Kriwitz, who lived with the Penataka Comanches from May to August of 1847, during which time he also compiled a substantial Comanche-German dictionary and an extensive set of observations about Comanche culture. It's the information in the northwest quarter of the map that demands our attention for the purpose of this discussion. Why? Because it represents part of the Comancheria as seen through Comanche eyes and as recorded nowhere else. As we learn from the book from which this symposium borrows its structure, Texas Takes Shape, A History in Maps from the General Land Office, and I quote, "As the first human inhabitants of a continent, indigenous peoples not only shaped the landscape itself, they also amassed a wealth of geographic knowledge about their homelands across the millennia. Moreover, though they did not conceive of property and territory in the same way as Europeans, they exercised sovereignty over specific lands, waters, and hunting grounds." End of quote. Time limits prevent us from presenting an exhaustive assessment of all the data presented by the Krivitz-Berghaus map, but a sampling will give an indication of its character and significance, especially insofar as it reflects sovereignty over specific lands, waters, and hunting grounds. That Emil Krivitz is the one who passed the map information to Heinrich Berghaus is not in doubt, because Berghaus names Krivitz as the author of extensive cultural notes on the Comanches that he, Berghaus, had already published in 1850. And he also included these in his 1851 article that has the map. Similarly beyond doubt is the fact that the information concerning the location of the Comanche hunting and grazing grounds originated from native informants, whom Krivitz also quizzed about Comanche culture and language. As my colleague Dan Jello demonstrated in 2000 in his article, Comanche Land and Ever Has Been, Comanche knowledge of the land and navigation on it was predicated on drainages and watercourses and on prominent topographical and other physical features. The conspicuous location of campsites on the map relative to rivers and streams reflects this native practice. The Comanche migration that had taken place southward through Colorado, New Mexico, and Oklahoma may be understood as the progressive usurpation of drainages from earlier, mainly Apachean occupants. When Berghaus associates various bands with streams on his map and in his narrative, he is recording a snapshot of this migration dynamic, as well as defining supposed band grazing areas. The map includes 9 Comanche stream names, only 3 of which can be matched to those on earlier maps. Remarkably, Berghaus's hydrography appears to have been conceived independently of earlier maps, as he avoids the frequent errors of headwater direction, though he does introduce his own errors of proportion. The relative lengths of the San Saba, Llano, and Pedernales are awry, and the source of the Colorado is mislocated. Linguistic analysis demonstrates how this map expands our knowledge of Comanche hydronymy, as most of the Comanche stream names that Berghaus provides are decipherable. Narohono includes the term hunubi, meaning creek or stream, together with an indefinite element, possibly narayuka, meaning quicksand, or maybe naru, trade. The latter appearing also in the Comanche names for Yellow House Draw, a Brazos tributary, and the North Fork of the Red River. Wokwe-Kwahono combines wokwe, cactus, with hunubi, creek or stream, showing the common Comanche practice of naming streams by characteristic vegetation. Taganohi resembles Taka, Hunupi, Ice Creek, and is still in use in modern Comanche for the Colorado River. Pisapehunuva, Pisapehunubi, Paint Creek or Rouge Creek, possibly a reference to the presence of ochre used for painting and anointing, or it may have been a name for the Concho River, recognizing Paint Rock, the long rock face covered with Indian pictographs running along the north bank of that stream. Pasiwono is clearly Pasihunubi, Sand Creek, another name for the Comanches applied to a section of the Colorado River. This name appears in A Pasigono in several maps of the period 1830 to 1849, including, as it happens, the map reproduced on the cover of your symposium program. On the backside here, you find some of these names, and this map I found, thanks to intensive research 2 hours ago, is Arrow Smith's 1841 map of Texas, displayed at the back of the hall. Berghouse's identification of the Concho River, Concho, as Enehoque, is significant. Concho is said to derive from the Spanish concha, shellfish, on account of the prevalence of freshwater mussels. Its equivalent is a Comanche hydronym, reducible to unu, animal, creature, critter, and oquetu, creek, stream, or small river. The semantic range of this word unu is quite broad, as it is often glossed as bug or insect, and yet appears in compounds for everything from red ant, eka unu, red creature, to elephant, esi unu, grey creature. In the present case, although Comanche does have a specific term for shellfish that includes mussels, wako, it seems likely that unu refers to the same creature that the Spanish term commemorates. It follows that the Spanish and English names are derived from the Comanche name. I've concentrated here on hydronyms recorded by Krivitz and Berghaus. For a fuller discussion of the ethnonyms recorded on this map, I refer you to our 2018 book, Comanches and Germans on the Texas Frontier, which is available in all bookstores in this building. Berghaus does not show mountain ranges, as his predecessors in Texas map-making had done. However, he does mark House Mountain and Enchanted Rock. Both of these were significant landmarks for natives. House Mountain even more so than Enchanted Rock, though only Enchanted Rock became important for non-natives. Berghaus's inclusion of House Mountain along with Enchanted Rock probably reflects Krivitz's close knowledge of Comanche navigation. There is a slight possibility that there is sort of an in-house joke involved here, because House Mount is almost a translation of Berg House, the author House Berg, but we leave that to one side. Berghaus does not mark the legendary old Spanish silver mines, as many earlier maps do, but he does include the location of the Spanish Presidio as Alta Fort, Old Fort, on the San Saba River near present-day Menard. The Presidio ruins were significant in Comanche geography and navigation. They used them as a landmark and camping place along the well-defined trail system connecting San Antonio and New Mexico via the hill country. According to Jean-Louis Berlandier, the Comanches referred to the ruins as Casas Viejas, old houses. They called the San Saba River Tsukucani Hunupi, Old House River, mirroring the Spanish name in their own language. The Berghaus map is also important as it reorients the Texas map-making tradition away from natural resources towards ethnology, thus redefining the Texas map. His map provides no animal and vegetation information as earlier maps do. It sets up a contrast between the nomadic Comanches and the Delawares and Shawnees, the two relocated, half-civilized eastern tribes who were allied with the settlers working as scouts. But the principal contribution of the Kriwitz-Berghaus map to Texas mapmaking is the documentation of tribal names and locations. It indicates 27 named populations using triangular teepee emblems to indicate dwelling places. 4 of the names are the names of headmen: Santa Ana, Pahayoko, Buffalo Hump, and Katumsi, and the rest are names for Comanche divisions or various non-Comanche groups. To this extent, the map records native heritage in a singular and remarkable level of detail. In contrast to the Kriwitz-Berghaus 1851 Comanche map, Ferdinand Lindheimer's mapping of part of the same area is represented by a hand-drawn sketch housed today in the Peter H. Raven Library at the Missouri Botanical Garden and never published before our 2024 book, The German Texas Frontier in 1853, Ferdinand Lindheimer's newspaper accounts of the environment, gold, and Indians. The map is archived in a section of the herbarium of Ferdinand Lindheimer labeled Plant List 1842 to 1843, Notes 1849. The sketch offers a German take on the significant features of the area and dates from some time after 1847, perhaps as late as 1849. In fall of 1847, Lindheimer had spent a few months at the Bettina colony, having guided the Darmstadt 40 group of idealistic settlers to the location of the commune they would found. One of the Darmstadt 40 eventually became Commissioner of the General Land Office, Jakob Küchler. We may assume that the information on the map derives directly from Lindheimer's own explorations and observations, because in order to write scientifically more valid descriptions of the plants he collected, he is, after all, the father of Texas botany, he had to record their habitat, and that meant noting the soil types and rock formations. To reconcile Lindheimer's sketch with the Comanche map, we can usefully locate the German settlements on the Llano River, Castell, Bettina, Leiningen, as a clear shared feature, along with the confluence of the Llano and Colorado rivers and the west-to-east course of the San Saba rivers. Let me just point those out to you. So down here you have the German settlements on the Berghaus map. They are over here. On the Lindheimer map, the San Saba River, and the Colorado River up here. Lindheimer indicates the present occupants of the area as Comanches, spelled C-O-M-A-N-S-H-E-S, which is neither German nor English nor Spanish spelling, along the San Saba Valley and Wecos, spelled W-E-K-O-S. South of that river is where they're located. Apart from the river names, Colorado, Llano, San Saba, Brady's Creek, and Concho, Lindheimer's map is most striking for its geological indicators. Using his native German terminology, he locates limestone, Kalk, chalk, Kreide, Greywack, or rubblestone, Grauwacke, granite, Granit, clay or slate shale, Tonschiefer, and carboniferous limestone, Kohlenkalk. He also marks a transition zone, Übergangsgebiet, between the limestone and the Greywack. Most intriguingly, we find a reference to Waschgold, placer gold, on a creek flowing southward into the Llano, just west of Castell, and that's marked right here. This is perhaps 12 Mile Creek, formerly known as Herman Creek. Interestingly, considering Lindheimer's status as the father of Texas botany, there is no botanical information on this map. Wildlife distribution is also missing. The focus is entirely on geology, hydrology, population, and settlement, and the possibility of mineral wealth. An allusion to the contentious settlement history of the region is suggested in the inclusion of the abandoned San Saba fort, or presidio. However, the legendary Spanish silver mines, included on many maps of this time, are omitted. The German Immigration Company, which had contracted to settle the Fisher-Miller land grant, was financially strapped from the very beginning, and the funding woes only grew over time. Any significant gold, silver, and other mineral wealth discovered in the grant could have saved the organization from the ruin it faced. Ferdinand von Römer, the professional geologist hired by the German Immigration Company to assess mineral wealth of the Fisher-Miller grant region, and whose acquaintance Lindheimer had certainly made, he had concluded that the region was not compatible with exploitable silver and gold deposits. Though his book on Texas did not appear until 1849 in Germany, Römer's conclusion was probably known to Lindheimer. Indeed, Lindheimer may have drawn on information provided by Römer as he set down the geological data on his mapping. When Lindheimer took on the editorship of the newly founded Neubraunfels Zeitung in 1852, he saw to it that coverage of gold in that German-language weekly newspaper received its due. By this time, of course, the California gold rush had begun. 49ers were crossing the Texas Hill Country on their way west, and gold fever was in the air. In his content choices and editorializing in the newspaper, Lindheimer played heavily on German risk-averse conservatism, diligence, and hard work as virtues, and set these against the voracious, get-rich-quick worldview of the Anglo population. For more on that, I refer you to the German-Texas frontier in 1853. If we now consider the two maps together, our binocular view, they provide a new depth of field. Both reflect the economic priorities of the respective parties, the Comanches and the Germans. For the Comanches, wealth is inscribed in livestock, particularly horses and mules, hence the foregrounding of grazing and hunting grounds, while for the Germans, mineral resources are a priority, hence the emphasis on geology and the specific mention of placer gold. From the Comanche viewpoint, the hill country and cross timbers were advantageous for horse herding because they contained water year-round, they gave protection from the wind, and offered some green grass even in the coldest months. By each of these measures, central Texas was much better than the rolling plains or high plains to the north and west. As shown by our maps, the Comanches depend on what the land already offers. The Germans are interested in what they can cultivate and thus need to know how the agricultural potential and physical composition of the terrain shapes up. The economic priorities are intertwined with the cultural interests of the two groups. The Comanche horse culture and its role for hunting and warfare, as well as the importance of the hunted bison and other animals for production of material artifacts, are well documented. By the same token, for the Germans, the geochemical composition of the land held implications for building materials as well as for future harvests. Conspicuously, both maps reference the other. Germans are present on the Comanche map, while Comanches and Wacos are inscribed on Lindheimer's map. Both also acknowledge, implicitly at least, the Spanish prehistory of the region in the use of Rio to designate river names and in the marking of the old Spanish fort. And not least, we must recognize the part played by German cartographic experience in both mappings. The Comanche map segment we had examined is part of a larger chart of German map-making, drafted and printed in Germany by the Justus Pertus Publishing Company. Lindheimer's map draws on his vast experience as a German man of science and years of acquaintance with graphic representations of the Texas lands. Each map gives shape to its present, yet each also bears inscriptions of the past and pointers to future developments to come. As such, we argue that when the maps are taken together, they are both the richer for it. And the Texas Binocular offers us not only a synthesis of divergent Comanche and German perspectives, but also augments the two dimensions of the flat page with an enhanced third dimension of time. I thank you for your attention.
We have time for a couple questions. Anybody? One map showed the settlement of Bettina east of Castell and one west of Castell. You made mention of it, that it was indeed west of Castell.
Bettina was actually east of Castell. Castell has moved since these maps were made. Castell used to be on the north side of the Llano River, is now located on the south side of the river and still exists. Bettina no longer exists and was to the east of the original Castell, and then to the east of Bettina was Leiningen, which also no longer exists. And they were all beads strung along the Llano River. Yes, there are some markers showing exactly where Leiningen was. It's also fairly well known exactly where Bettina was. It was on a creek, and I and D'Angelo and a party of other researchers found clear evidence of hewn stones that had been used to construct a communal building at Bettina. Those people, by the way, were the co-authors, if I may do one more plug, of Comanche's Captives and Germans, a third book, which is also available downstairs.
So question, those two maps, particularly the printed one, do you see them influencing German cartography, map production in the years following the publication of those maps?
I fully expect that is the case, because Heinrich Berghaus was a very prominent cartographer in Germany at that time. He even ran a cartography academy in Potsdam, was a good friend of Alexander von Humboldt, and many of the, or at least two of the graduates of his cartography school became very prominent cartographers in their own right in publishing world maps in Germany, and they are standard reference figures in the history of German cartography. So this particular map would certainly have been known to them. I cannot say that I have seen direct documentable evidence that they had influence on any particular maps, but certainly the setup was there for that to happen.
All right, thank you.